that? Oh God, I'm gonna die. I gotta get this on camera. No. Hey everybody, welcome to the Marino Show. I'm your host, David Marino, and welcoming back one of my favorite guests, Anthony Sant'Anselmo, known as Mondo Video on Instagram because he built a video store in his basement. We've talked about that a few times. Also, though, he's an animator for South Park and just celebrated like a major anniversary being with South Park. So, Anthony, welcome back to the show, and thank you for joining me again.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's like one of the podcasts I look forward to. Hopefully every year it's like, I hope I get that invite,
Of course you are. But I said, like, there are guests that I love having on all the time. And you're one of them because one, you love movies of all genres, which is great. Two, your horror movies, but also the fact that, I think what was funny is when I initially interviewed you, it was about, of course, seeing your video store in your basement that you built that was on Instagram. And what was funny is I didn't even know at the time that you were an animator for South Park. That was so secondary to me, which I thought was cool because it's like I'm recognizing you for something totally different than your job.
Oh, I'll take
but
it.
I also think it's awesome that, you've been a part of a show that is such a huge part of pop culture, especially in today's world. I know South Park has gotten some attention lately, but in the political kind of spectrum, as it always has, but it's in the times we're in right now, it's a little more heightened. But tell me, since we haven't really touched a lot on South Park in some of the last interviews, tell me how you ended up becoming an animator for South Park, how that all kind of happened, and how you ended up, part of this.
As a little kid, some kids gravitate towards sports or cars or whatever. I was always movies and TV. And my dad brought home a camcorder, and I started making little horror shorts with my neighborhood friends and some stop motion animation. And that's just really kind of how I got into filmmaking. And I remember I was making really kind of messed up rated R stop motion animation stuff when I was like 12. My mom was not happy. And in addition to making little cannibal films, live action as well. But my brother-in-law used to do the JCPenney Shopping Network, which was kind of like a QVC. He was the director of that. And he started getting me little odd jobs. I was a PA for Joe Weider's Flex Master, starring David Naughton from American Werewolf in London, the original Dr. Pepper guy or whatever, Mr. Pepper. And I just got these little odd jobs. And Frank would get some odd jobs too, because, the directing for the JCPenney Shopping Network gig didn't last. And he got in on this one show called South Park, and I had no image to the title. I wasn't even a fan of the title at first, just because I didn't know where to put it. And he's like, yeah, I'm supposed to kind of shepherd and work on this show. It's not going to last a season, they said. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I saw it, and I was like, are you kidding me? This is like completely my sensibilities, my comedy, like, love. It was right there in cartoon form. And a couple years later, he got me in. He got my foot in the door, and I had to learn how to do South Park. Like, he gave me the opportunity. I just made sure I didn't throw it away. So it took me, half a year or more to kind of get a hang of it. And thankfully, I had some people who were, patient with me in my department. And that was in 2003. And now it's 2025. So it's 22 years ago when I walked in nervously into the building, because I had already seen Cannibal the Musical. So I knew those guys before South Park was South Park. because that was like 95 or 96 or whatever when Cannibal came out, even before that. And so I was just a huge fan without knowing South Park was theirs until a little bit later. But yeah, I got an opportunity and I just made sure I did not screw up because I was like, dude, this is exactly where I want to be. And I didn't think I'd be there for 22 years. Because I always, and I still do, have aspirations for my own feature films. And, I could bore you for another hour about all the things, but, since I was 5, when Dark Crystal came out and when I saw E.T. in Vacation, I'm like, I got to make movies. So South Park has definitely helped give me that kind of creative satiation. But at the end of the day, it's not mine. That's Matt and Trey's. And God love them. They got a great show. And if I wasn't working for the show, I'd be as big as of a fan as I am now. And that's kind of the ball of wax right there.
And what character are you responsible for animating? Like, do you do multiple, or is there
Mhm.
one specifically?
So I do lip sync animation. I'm lip sync animation supervisor, and I will animate the mouths of anybody who has any kind of dialogue, whether it's Canadians, whether it's the boys, South Park town, the Woodland Critters, Donald Trump, Mel Gibson, Saddam, Satan, like whoever has a line, Trump's wiener, you know, yeah.
Well, what has it meant though to you to be a part of such, a show that it's a commentary on what's happening, always has been what's happening in society. Sometimes people joke that it's predicted many things that are happening now.
Yeah, like
Predicted.
Simpsons.
Yeah, well, yeah, some of that too. Like, so what, for you being a part of the show or being an animator, what has it meant to kind of have that, to have a hand in just, your part that you play, to have a hand in it?
I mean, I don't know if I can articulate it, but I mean, obviously, I'm quite proud. I mean, I'm just a cog in a wheel, just like everybody who works on the show. The show is Matt and Trey, and we're all just thrilled to be there. So any hand that we have in it is fantastic, and we all have our little thumbprints, some more than others. But at the end of the day, Trey quality controls it. He directs it. He writes it. Matt and Trey do the voices. They produce it, so on and so forth. So it's very obviously their baby. But just for me to have a hand in it on something that I totally respect is, I mean, it's funny because I made like a little comment or whatever, a post on LinkedIn, and I said, I half want to say, where did 22 years go? Right. Well, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say that because I learned a lot. I laughed a lot. I've made some killer friends for life. I've got wonderful memories. I totally respect the show. And as I said, if I didn't work for the show, I would completely still be a fan. So I'm just, I'm thrilled to be a part of it. It's definitely TV history and it's not every day. I know that, I count my blessings that I was given an opportunity, but I guess what is it when preparation and opportunity meet? You know what I mean? Something like that. I think that's very true. But there's also fake it till you make it. If you get an opportunity, you know what you're doing. Cool, there we go. And if you fail, you fail. Um, but Robert Rodriguez says, in the ashes of your failures are the keys to your success. Just a little heads up for you boys and girls out there.
One of the things that we've obviously talked about a lot is the video store that you constructed in your basement, which is definitely a throwback to those video stores that you went to as a kid, that I went to as a kid. Have you done any other like remodeling, or have you added anything else? Because I know you have all these different rooms that have, themes, and it's very elaborate for those who haven't seen it, and I'll be sharing pictures and everything of it. But have you added anything else?
I not so much aside from tapes, but my office, not that it's part of the real tour or whatever, I've completely redone that and I've made it more I made it black like the video store and neon piping. So, and that's just like the whole room is just aimed at being functional, because, for music, for writing, I work remotely, so I do South Park in there. So that room is now basically completely 360 degrees, just a functional office. And part of the video store functions out of that office as well in terms of social media and little projects I want to do in terms of videos. um, podcasts, the whole 9 yards. So that's really been the focus of the latest remodel, if you will. So
Well, I love it. And those who haven't, seen, go to Mondo Video on Instagram because you always share pictures and have, little video clips of the actual store. One thing I wanted to ask you about, I know I've noticed over probably the past probably 5 years, maybe longer, there has been this kind of resurgence of, like, in Austin, there's a lot of VHS swaps now, that I see more and more that I hadn't seen originally. It feels like we're seeing more of people going back to the old school, way of listening to music on vinyl, even watching videos, even people buying cassette tapes, as I've seen more recently, even the younger generation. It's crazy. I see at the record stores they have cassette tapes of newer artists. Um,
yeah,
what is your take on that? Do you think that, I have a few opinions on it, but I think personally that people are kind of craving a time that was different, that was, I don't know, but simpler, but just the sensation of having physical media. I really miss that as a consumer. But what for you do you think that is? Because it seems like it's become more prevalent, even though you've always loved it, but it feels like it's now becoming more of a thing that people
sure.
are doing.
Well, I feel like it's a kind of a twofold. Like for us, it's nostalgia. That this is how we got our movies in terms of like the delivery method. Happened to be on VHS. Now others, it's going to be DVD. Others, it's going to be Blu-ray in terms of nostalgia. There's going to be a time when Netflix is the nostalgic thing. You know. Now there's definitely another younger generations that are completely down with physical media because they were born in a digital world. So to hold something is very human. And it's also, Stranger Things kind of made it cool. Fear Street, all these kind of throwbacks where it shows like simpler time, kind of super innocent but dangerous and punk rock at the same time. And I think they kind of, maybe wish they were born during that time. If anything, maybe they're finding a bit of their identity through that. And I'm all for it. If it's a way for them to discover movies they'd otherwise not discover, great. And if they're just having a killer time with, Terrifier on VHS, awesome. You know, I think it's just really a kind of a tactile, tangible thing that people are looking for because, and I'm quoting James, I think Rolfe is his name, the Cinemassacre guy. He's got a killer video store. He's one of the first, if not the first, to do the killer setup. But he says, I feel like he said, searching digitally for a movie is a very sterile experience, and he nailed it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's not rad because I remember when I was like 12 on my BMX bike with my friends, we're like, one day we're gonna have a video store in our house, but it's gonna be on our TV. We can get anything we want. Well, we got that now, and we're all unhappy. We got it now. Like I'm like looking for 45 minutes. I can't find anything. Are you sure? Because you just passed 1,000 movies. Yeah, and for me, I'm like, and I'm sure for many, I'm looking for something that maybe doesn't exist. And I'm hoping that maybe it does, whatever that may be, or I'm looking for something that fits a mood. And that could be, you could hit a genre, but there's so many subgenres within that genre. Sometimes it's just kind of a vanilla choice. But what was I going to say? Oh, so I've got 3 kids and they're all into YouTube and this and that. And we monitor what they watch, but they can watch anything that they want, more or less in terms of like, click of a button. So I started realizing there's no anticipation for movies that are coming out because they don't see the trailers that are promoting a month in advance or whatever. There's no, oh, I can't wait to see that movie, really. So I'm trying to foster that a little bit within them. I'm like, hey, did you know this one's coming out? Check it out. And then they'll talk about it during the week. I'm like, oh, it's not out yet. It's not out yet. And I feel like we don't really live in that world in terms of like the kids of today. So I'm trying to give them a little bit more of this kind of experience, but mixed with the digital. But the digital is so like readily available that it kind of overweighs it, I guess, outweighs it.
One of my favorite things when I go to the movies, because I love going to the movies, is the previews that play before it, because I just like seeing what's coming and that anticipation. So I definitely agree with that. If you could make, and I think we've touched on this before, but I want to revisit, because you talked about the fact that yes, you do animation for South Park, and you do different things, but the goal is to eventually do your own films, in these times. So if you had a choice, what would be the first film that you would make? What kind of film would that be, or do you already have an idea?
I mean, I got pretty close once. So I wrote a movie called Mondo Holocausto back in 2007, which is an Italian 70s lost cannibal film. And the whole idea was we're trying to make a bad movie because um, God bless my ancestors. They would when they would make a Italian horror film, they try to mimic, like they try to sneak it into where it looks like it's an American film. So they'd always have stock footage of New York City. They would it would be completely dubbed in English, so it just kind of looked kung fu, in terms of the dialogue. And it's funny because I do lip sync animation, so the fact that my first film I want to make is completely not in sync with the mouths, I find to be kind of interesting. But maybe there's some kind of you know psychiatrist would love to speak with me about that. Like, you should step away from South Park for a little bit. Make your film where the mouths don't match, please. But yeah, so I got pretty close. I'll spare you the details. I think it was a project that was too big for me, and I was too young for it at the time. But I spent so much energy on it, and it got pretty close to being made. We had a pretty cool cast of like James Duvall, Noah Hathaway from Neverending Story. We had some South Park, voiceover talent, and Richard Tyson. He was attached. He was the bad guy in Kindergarten Cop. He was in
Mhm.
3 O'clock High, the bully.
I know. I was
Yeah,
gonna say that I love 3 O'clock High. It's one of my
that's the best.
favorites.
Yeah, and I've got a bunch of footage of that because we were trying to like raise some money, and wonderful people. It just didn't work out, unfortunately. That would probably be the one that I would do the first. But I have another one that I wrote. It's an Amityville one, but this one's more comedy. And it's more trying to put the nail on the coffin of all the other Amityvilles that have been done, which are a lot. There's like 25 or more. Like Amityville Toilet, Amityville Shark House, Amityville Karen, Amityville Karen. Like,
That was on Tubi. It's so
yeah,
ridiculous. Yeah.
and hey, they made a feature film. I don't care if it's good or bad. They made a feature film. I mean, if it's good, that's great. But that's anybody who makes a feature film and finishes it. If it sucks, they made it. They finished their goal. That's respectable. Hats off. I don't want to make a bad film. I don't think anybody does. Um, Even though I said on Mondo Holocausto I'm trying to make a bad film, I mean more cheesy, because that's what those films were like back in the day, the 70s and 80s, and they always had the Holocaust word to it for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, so that's why I'm like Holocausto exclamation point. It's more comedy. Get away from that heaviness. But yeah, probably that. And I also wrote another one called Dismember December, and it's brutal but funny.
Is it well?
Horror, Christmas horror comedy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it a holiday film that's
Oh yeah, this is brutal. Yeah, but like not like terror. I wouldn't say as far as Terrifier brutal. Like, I'm not trying to like. I mean, I was. This is way before Terrifier when I wrote that movie. That one needs a budget though. But basically, it's a Candy Cane Lane type movie, and somebody really does not like Candy Cane Lane very much. The end. I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I mean, I could bore you with other details or other projects, but yeah, I just comedy horror seems to be the core, because you could really play around with the horror, and that's where imagination kind of comes in. But comedy is like everything to me.
What are your thoughts on, the horror films coming out today? I mean, there's obviously it's not so much although there are some throwbacks, they try to kind of do it as it's usually tongue in cheek. I grew up with the slasher flicks that I love, the Friday the 13th, the Final Exam, the Halloweens, whatever. But today, I don't feel like those are like kind of the focus of the horror movies that are coming out. But what is your kind of opinion on the state of the horror genre or the films that you're seeing coming out today?
I feel like I've slacked. There's plenty I haven't seen that you'd be like, dude, you haven't seen it? And I'll just go through the list. I haven't seen, is it Talk to Me?
Oh yeah, Talk to Me is good.
Bring
Yeah.
Her Back? Same directors?
I haven't seen that one though.
Okay, I haven't seen that. I could just keep going, but yeah, I'm kind of behind, unfortunately. But I did see like Weapons, you know, in terms
Mhm.
of mainstream horror. I enjoyed that. In
I did
fact, they
too.
shot a lot of it out here, if not all of it.
Oh, and you're in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like I want to like I actually Googled the house address. I'm like, oh, it's only like 35 minutes from me. We should just roll by, you know, do a film location for YouTube.
I really liked Weapons. Aunt Gladys is a trip. I thought that
Oh,
was
dude, do you know who she's from?
it's Amy, what's her,
You got it. Oh
is it
God,
Irving?
no,
Not Amy Irving. It's Amy
Matt Masden. No,
yeah, yeah.
something like that. Yeah, Uncle Buck.
Yes, Uncle Buck. Yeah, she's been in a lot of stuff
Sure.
too. Like,
Field of Dreams.
yeah, yeah. And that's it, Amy
Yeah,
Madigan. Um, yeah, I thought, and I think they're making a. I read that they were going to make a prequel that focuses on her character.
correct.
So I think that that would be great.
That's great,
I
dude.
I like that those types of films that are coming out. I'm kind of getting tired of the reboots because I mean I like some of them, but it just feels like I don't know. I like Weapons and films like that, or even like Barbarian or
I haven't
things that
seen that yet.
it's
It's
good.
on my list now that I've seen Weapons. You know, is it Zach Kreger?
Yeah,
Is that his name?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I
License
love
to be
that
Naked.
those films kind of take a different. It's something you haven't seen before, and I really appreciate that with film, and horror that they're not trying to do something that's already been done. They're not trying to do a reboot. They're doing their own thing and they're in their own lane. So I
Agreed.
appreciate those types of films that I've seen more and more coming out lately in the horror genre. Um, I wish that there was a little more of that, but I feel like it's kind of there's a lot of, like I said, the reboot kind of take the quick route to the money grab, I guess.
So, do you mean like the I Know What You Did Last Summer's, if you
Yeah,
will?
I
Or,
just saw that one and I hated it.
well, it's funny. My wife put it on last night. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I want to watch this, to be honest. And we were actually crashing out. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I think I'm good, at least for the time being. You know.
And I didn't want to hate it. Like, honestly, I don't dislike reboots. Like, I liked the Halloween, the first one that David Gordon Elliott, right? David, I'm not thinking tonight with names, but the director, that reboot, part one, I liked, but then it started to me going
Oh, the
downhill.
Halloweens. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I liked the
David
first,
Gordon. Jeez.
yeah. But yeah, the I Know What You Did Last Summer was disappointing to me because I was obviously younger when the first two came out, and I really liked those films. And it's hard when you kind of see when they bring back the legacy characters, but at the same time they really made it just felt kind of dumbed down and just I don't know. You have to see it and let me know what you think, but I was really disappointed in that one. So I think
Um,
go ahead.
what do you think of David Gordon Green? I had to figure it out.
That's it. David
Yeah,
Gordon.
I'm mad at myself because I know that name. Um, what did you think of the Scream reboot or
You
series
know,
of films at this point? Well, it's not even a reboot. I mean, it's a soft
it's not
reboot. It's a sequel.
I actually thought I liked it. I've
Same.
always been a big fan of Scream, and so I've actually been a fan of most of them, and I actually liked, what they did when they brought it back. And I know there's another one coming out in February where
So
Nev
that's
Campbell,
three. That's three now, correct? New
yeah,
ones. Yeah,
and Nev Campbell's coming back in this one
I
because
heard
she
that.
wasn't in the last one because there was a salary dispute.
Yeah, dude,
But
pay her what she's worth, dude. Come on now.
they didn't want to
Don't
pay her. That was the thing. They didn't want to pay her.
ridiculous, dude. Come on.
But good for her for being like,
Yeah.
hello, she is
No,
the
she knows she's the
yeah,
anchor of the film, and I don't mean that in a negative way at all. She's
yeah,
the touchstone of the whole goddamn movie. I
yeah.
gotta
And
tell you, I
so,
was not happy when they axed. Spoiler alert: David Arquette.
oh my God,
He's my favorite character in the whole goddamn series.
I love him, and I just yeah, that pissed me off that
I
they got.
wanted him at least 3 or 4 more. Like, come on, man, let him. He's got to be that character. He's like, he's a lovable dude. comic relief. He's historically part of the film. Like you get rid of him.
Yeah. That and
Yeah.
you know, and I think the last one in New York, it was good, but I did miss Nev Campbell and
Didn't
Dewey.
catch that one. I didn't see the last one.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to the new one. So I have enjoyed that one, kind of bringing
Cool.
it back. I think that one's really good. Like I said, Halloween, I liked the first one, but then it started. I don't know. I didn't like Halloween Ends. I think it's just, I applaud trying something new and different, but sometimes I think it's hard to do that with films that have such an established, there's
Sure.
such a legacy. And when you try to take the killer and turn them into someone that isn't them, that doesn't work for a lot of the fans of those films because Michael Myers is Michael Myers. He's this entity that you can't beat. And when they made him more human almost, I think it kind of went south, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. I think you see behind the curtain too much in that regard. I have respect for it. So Deanna McBride is a co-writer, co-producer of those films, and he grew up, I believe, in South Carolina, where they shot the series of the last three. And I like Danny McBride. I think he's a talent. I think he's super funny, and the fact that he took a crack at horror because he's a fan, great. But my only problem, and I can appreciate them shooting in South Carolina, bringing it home. That's great for the state. However, by the way, I've not seen Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. I've only seen the first one, the first reboot, whatever the hell. And there was no atmosphere to it whatsoever, in my opinion. I was like, dude, the trees are skeletons. There's no like leaves everywhere. In terms of what I could recall, it didn't have that creepy atmosphere that the first one did. Even part four had that atmosphere.
Oh, I love
And
part four.
yeah, and it just didn't have it. So I was like, damn, dude. Like it had some cool lighting and maybe some fog effects, but it just didn't have that fall feeling. And the first one was shot in Pasadena, California, and I'm sure they had to like, I don't know, bring in leaves.
They did. They
Yeah,
did in the documentary they talk about, and they even had to scoop them back up when they were done
there you
filming.
go. Yeah,
They
so
didn't.
I did. I'm pulling that from memory from that documentary. But yeah, so and I have another problem. I'm sorry, everyone's so cool with it, but like Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, these are the worst titles I've ever heard in my entire life. I'm sorry. We're now complacent and fine with it. When I first heard it, I thought it was like my ears were bleeding on how please tell me that's a working title and you're going to do something else. But no, Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. What is this? You know what it is? The TikTok generation. It's just, here you go. This is what you need to know. Boom. We're not going to get clever with anything. You know what you're getting. Now it's ending.
And that's what they did with the I Know What You Did Last Summer. It was very TikTok generation. I mean, I get a little embarrassed with because I don't know who's writing some of these films, but with
People
that,
who are not the TikTok generation. I'll tell you that right now.
right,
And I'm seeing some rad shit in the TikTok generation. Don't get me wrong.
right. What I'm saying is that I find it kind of frustrating I know I work with, several, I'm getting older, but in my workplace, we have all different ages,
Sure.
obviously.
Yeah. 100%.
But the younger generation, there's some, I work with some really smart,
Yeah. Yeah.
savvy, they're technically savvy. They have a
Yeah.
different, kind of experience than I had growing up, and I appreciate that. And they're very smart. They have it together. They're a little more sophisticated than I was at that age. But what they do in these films, though, like they did with I Know What You Did Last Summer, they take that TikTok generation and they turn it into that kind of, it's almost like mimicking what they think
Mm-hmm.
that generation is.
Well, that's exactly what it is.
I find it insulting because it's like they're not that dumb. And plus, you're kind of dumbing down the film when you do that with characters. Like, I don't know. That really bugs me when people think the people who are writing for that generation are not that generation.
I think it just takes a special writer to really, listen and absorb and then try to come up with some kind of narrative and dressing of a certain generation that they've researched and hopefully respect. Like John Hughes did that, you know what I mean? Like that kind of shit. And Cameron Crowe did that. And there's other, iterations or, examples of that. But yeah, yeah, I think Kevin Williamson did a pretty goddamn good job too. So it just I don't know. I don't want to say like somebody who grew up in the analog generation can't do, newer generation type, everyone born with a mobile phone in your hand, that kind of shit. They can. Just don't make it a parody on accident. Because it becomes an SNL digital short kind of. I feel like I know what you're talking about because I watched like 10 minutes of I Know What You Did Last Summer, the new one. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I got the strength, like for at least right now.
Also, I know, the reason I like talking to you so much is because we can have these conversations about these different types of films. But you yourself, eventually down the line somewhere, you do plan to do a podcast, which I really hope that you do eventually do that, because I think having the background that you have, not just with, the work that you do, but just having the knowledge that you have in your creative life outside of work, that you have this knowledge of different films and different genres, and you can, film. I really hope that you're able to eventually do that. So what is the current plan on the podcast, and what do you want to focus on in that? I think you were saying it would be talking about film in general, and kind of going in that direction, right?
Yeah, well, there'd be the Mondo video podcast, title to be determined, but and that's just waxing about certain movies. A friend of mine jokingly said we should start one called Rose and Reels. I'm like, there's a ring to that. Just because I actually do drink rosé. It's funny because, side note, I'm going to derail everybody and digress hard. Um, a friend of mine used to live in France, and he came out here to hang out, and he was drinking rosé. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? You don't want, like, what? I got a full stock bar. You don't want anything? He's like, nah, rosé. I'm like, okay, bro, whatever. So judgy. And then I had some of it. It was delicious, bro. It was amazing. So my friend came up with Rose and Reels, and that's kind of a side joke. But no, there's another one that we're putting together, and it's called the Obsession Sessions, and it's basically people who are kind of wacky like myself that have kind of an obsession about some kind of collectible or in their life, or some kind of artwork or art that they're interested in that is just completely like they've gone all in on, and it's a problem in a good way. You know, like I've got a friend who's the world's largest Beavis and Butthead collector.
Like, I love anyone who collects, like, I love vinyl, so I have lots of vinyl, and I collect all these different horror little bobbleheads, all that kind of stuff. But I don't care even if I'm not interested in what it is they're collecting. I think that's genius, because I just like the fact that if somebody has all this stuff related to whatever it is they love, I always respect that, because I'm like, man, they like
Oh
really
yeah.
gone all, and I think people would love to see that, just like with the videos that you have. I think that's a great idea. I mean, I'd love to see that.
Well, then
I
you'll be excited to watch the guy who's collecting 1 million Titanic VHSs.
Interesting.
Like he's in
What?
love with Titanic.
Wow. You know, I didn't even think about the different versions of VHS Titanic films that there are.
Oh no, he just wants one, just the double tape brick Titanic. He
Yeah,
wants
yeah,
one
yeah.
of them. So his house is like his. Look at his fireplace; it's all Titanic. If he pans his camera, it's all Titanic on the wall. He goes to go down the hallway, it's all Titanic. The whole place is Titanic. It's amazing, and he's hilarious, and he's smart.
That's
We were
so
like, I don't know if he's smart, but he is. He totally is.
that's really cool. I remember the brick double
Oh
tape
yeah, yeah. Take one
Titanic.
or two. So
Wow.
shit like that, it's like kind of fascinating. And oddly enough, spoiler alert, his dad used to collect and still does a ton of Star Wars stuff. So it runs in the family.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's an exciting one for me to get into for sure. And that one can be produced pretty quick. It's just a matter of setting the time. Right now I'm in the middle of a work season, so anything creative I want to do is kind of like, you know, I'm kind of mixing that with hanging out with my kids, so I could scratch that itch, and also they can learn to be creative as well, and to kind of play with, oh, let's make a little Lord of the Rings spoof. Oh, cool. Let's get in costumes, and we'll do that on the weekends or whatever. I made one a year ago. I'm making a sequel, so just because because it's fun.
I don't know how old your kids are, but are they familiar with South Park? Do you
Oh
let
yeah.
them watch it, number one, if they're old enough?
They've seen a couple clips.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're still young that you're kind of
So the oldest is 7,
okay.
5, and then 3, almost 4.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And it's funny because like I may have made this comment to you before on another episode, but like in terms of the video store, I think they think anybody with a basement just has a video store there, you know. But my oldest has been in a couple basements. He's like, oh, they don't have tapes down there. They just have like pool table. I'm like, yeah, because daddy's weird. It's okay, like it's okay. Like this is kind of a unique thing. And then my oldest saw the video store on Mr. Beast. He was like freaking out because then it kind of like gave him maybe a perspective, I guess. Like, why is he talking about this? Oh, this is cool. Like, you know what I mean? Because I think being born into it, he just sees it as like, oh, this is cool. Wow, like
It's just normal to him.
it
Yeah.
is. I think to a point, but like, and then his teachers were asking about South Park to him because of their dad. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know if that's unprofessional or not, but I'm not mad. I'm not mad. But they're also asking a child about an adult animated show that their dad happens to work on. Like, talk to me all you want. But then my kids come home and they're like, oh, Miss So and So was talking about South Park and asking about it. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, so that kind of again puts a spotlight on, oh, this is cool. And because it's entertainment and TV, they love it because they're a chip off the old block. And they've seen South Park around the video store, and I have posters and plushies, so they know about that. And they've seen some clips, and they're like, "Oh, this is hardcore." But like the clips I showed were like early seasons, like fart
Yeah.
jokes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and probably a lot of that would go over their heads right now. Some of it, I would assume. Um, Maybe some of the humor.
What's funny is and putting this on your radar. My 3-year-old is a massive horror fan, massive. Okay, huge horror fan. Okay, so he's walked around the aisles in here, and he always gravitates towards the horror. Can't believe I got my stagehand down, and it's all reversed for me. And so he loves Spirit Halloween walkthroughs on YouTube. Okay, he knows every animatronic by name. I've taken him to Spirit. I've shot him. Okay, I have him on film going, oh, Leatherface, Chucky's girlfriend, Valak the Nun, straight up from fucking the Nun, and he's 3, and you should interview him.
I would love to interview him.
He's so
Yeah,
funny, dude. Yeah,
that
no,
is
he's
hilarious.
hilarious. He loves his horror, but like he'll go off, and sometimes he needs subtitles, because he's 3. But he loves Chucky. He loves Michael Myers. Yeah, loves the animatronics. And I shot him, as I said. I did a walkthrough video at 2 Spirits, and he was just killing it. Huggy Wuggy from what is it? It's not Five Nights at Freddy's. Whatever the hell. He just knows them all to the point where I'm like, geez, I don't even know that one. So
Hey, he may be one to follow in your footsteps if he's kind of gravitating to, film like that, especially at that age. What would you like if you always hear people ask this, but if your kids went into any kind of, you know, area of the entertainment industry, whether that would be being a filmmaker, animator, actor, actress, even like musician, is that something that you would you like to see? I mean, I'm sure you'd be happy with anything they did, but
sure.
what would you say if one of them came up to you and said, I want to be like you, I want to do what you do?
Well, I'd hope that I've done a little bit more by the time they say that, because, again, I have not made a feature film yet, and that's a burning desire. But however they see me, if they were to hypothetically say that, I'd be like, well, awesome. Let me give you some advice, like, you know. got to pay the bills. That's first and foremost. Make sure that's happening. Because my dad, growing up, he had kind of the dream. He had a job where he dreamed. He's an inventor, and so there was a lot of times I wasn't aware of it until a little later. But like, and no disrespect to him, he's fantastic. But as inventing goes, it's highs and lows. Sometimes there's money in the account, sometimes there's not, and sometimes there's not for a long time. And that's kind of a hard way to live. But for somebody who has a burning desire to go for something, if you could have one foot in both worlds, reality and then your dream world, fantastic. If you're all in on your dream, well, I really hope it happens. Just you got to keep going after it, and then it's only up to that person to decide maybe it's not working out. Who am I to say? But yeah, if my kids wanted to do that, yeah, I'd be all in. I'd be like, this is great. But there's I don't want to be like how my mom was. My mom was always like, "Oh, you're going to be a starving filmmaker. Don't do that." I'm like, that's not the advice I'm looking for. Like she would always say, "You're not going to make it. You're going to be starving." I'm like, "Well, just look at my short film." Whereas my dad was like, "Oh, this is awesome." So I had the real negative but positive, you know, feedback. I guess my mom was just trying to be tough love. She didn't want me to have a hard life, but like at the time, I was just being creative. You know, she's like, I'm not even thinking about that aspect, mom. I'm just trying to make this cool Robin Hood, Kevin Costner parody. Can you just watch it? So it's telling me I'm going to suffer? Like, a little much.
Yeah.
I won't be that guy to my kids.
Well, I think you've done a lot. I mean, South Park is huge, but I do like that. I can't wait until you do make the film, because then we can talk about that. Like
Oh yeah, for
yeah,
sure. Viewing party.
yeah. So now that we're kind of entering the later part of the year, like, the October, November, December, I know last time we talked about films that you like to watch, but are there any specific horror, maybe holiday horror films that you love to watch every year?
Holiday horror. Yeah. For Christmas, straight up, it's always Christmas Evil, a little Silent Night, Deadly Night. Um,
Which
I
they're
was,
remaking. Did you see that?
uh, I yes, I think I did.
Yeah,
Actually, I
I
think I
I
even
saw
saw a
a
trailer.
preview for it recently.
Yeah, I understand. Return of the Living Dead has a Christmas reboot coming out.
Oh,
Yeah, it was like a zombie dragging somebody in Christmas lights in snow for like 10 minutes only. 10 minutes straight. Kidding you not? It's like you can cut. And I always watch Cannibal the Musical during the holidays. I don't know why. Just it's warming. I don't know. Yeah, the Charlie Brown Christmas, kind of the staples. But
yeah.
I understand. Thanksgiving 2 will be out in 26, I think.
I'm so excited about that one. I can't wait to see that. I liked the first one a lot. Eli Roth.
Yeah, so did I. I have a friend who's like, "Oh, it's utter garbage." I'm like, "Really? Did we not watch the same thing? It was fun." He's like, "No, it's got this problem, that problem, this problem." I'm like, "Okay, well, if that's how you feel, you're not wrong." But I thought
I
it was a good
loved it.
time.
Now that made me feel like the slashers I used to watch in the 80s. And they did not make the young people dumb. It was fun. It was good.
I think he nailed it. I think it clearly was made by however somebody processes it is however they process it, but it was clearly made by somebody who knew the genre and had fun with it. And again, if somebody didn't like it, fine, all good. But it obviously did well enough where the studio immediately said, "Please, let's make a sequel." It's like, oh, okay. And he had a good enough time where he's totally doing it. So, and God bless Grindhouse
Yes.
because we've got Machete Kills. What a hell we got to steal Machete, dude. We got Machete Kills. We have Thanksgiving. Now, a sequel or a franchise. We just need Don't by Edgar Roth. Please, Edgar. I know you're watching this. Please make Don't. And then we need Werewolf Women of the SS with Nick Cage as Confucius or some shit.
Yeah,
So,
that I agree with you.
I mean, do you
And
feel like they feel there's pressure on them? Like, fuck, dude, Eli Roth and Robert Rodriguez banged out features and sequels of their fake trailers.
I think there is pressure. I would feel pressure. I mean,
Don't is dope, dude. It was like a Hammer fucking horror, like,
yeah.
those are great. If anybody has not seen these fake trailers, it's on the Grindhouse. Robert
Mhm.
Rodriguez, Quentin Tarantino double feature from 2007 of Planet Terror
Death
and
proof.
Death Proof. Thank you. Hello. And between the double feature, they had all these fake trailers that
Yeah.
other directors would make. And you could see Thanksgiving by Eli Roth, the original Thanksgiving Grindhouse trailer. It's got the Creep Show soundtrack to it. It's so good. In fact, I was a little disappointed it did not look like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I had a good time with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about Black Phone? Because the sequel's out right now.
Oh, I really liked the first one. Did you see it?
I did. I'm mostly on board with the first one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was different. I like Ethan Hawke too, and
Same.
it's not I had never seen him in that kind of a role. I'm curious about part two though, because I haven't read a lot about it, so I'm not really sure what the sequel, I don't know what the premise is or how
I'm
he's
hearing good things, whatever it is.
I think that I want to see it. I just haven't read a lot about it. I was
Yeah.
surprised they made a sequel. I mean, it did well, but I didn't think they would make a sequel to it. Or I mean, everything can have a sequel, no matter if
Sure.
someone's dead or whatever. But I don't know. I didn't see that one for whatever reason in my mind. I just thought that was a one-off. It was good, but yeah, I've seen the preview, and I just haven't watched it enough to really understand what the premise is of this one.
Sure. What
But
one movie I really enjoyed last God, it must have been earlier this year. Was it Part Eyes?
oh my god, I love Hard
Movie
Eyes.
was rad.
That see again, I love those types of films because that again kind of brings a slasher back, but it was funny. It was
It
so
was
well written.
hilarious. Dude, I
That
was
part where she throws a vibrator at him in the closet and it's like on the floor. I died.
dude,
Died.
there were several moments in the movie where I'm like, damn, that's some good writing right there. Like they nailed it. Like this is well delivered, well performed. Everything just kind of hit. And it didn't feel like there was any fat on it. It was just like I went right with it the whole way.
Me too. I went and saw that when it came out at the movies, and I felt like I was invested, and it moved so
Yeah.
fast. But you didn't feel like you. I mean, it. I loved that. I like seeing like the Thanksgivings, the Hard Eyes, like the ode to the slasher flick, because they did that, but they made it kind of new and different. And the humor though in that one, it kind of takes me back to like the original Scream, in
Oh
some
yeah.
way. I just thought that was a genius film. It was hilarious. Even everything from her boss, it was such a bitch, and like it was so funny though. Like
Yeah,
all
it
of it
was
was
super
funny.
enjoyable. And I feel like that bridged the moments between the suspense, just having like instead of just it's okay to be dramatic between like the suspenseful or horror elements, but like there was a lot of snark between that, and I was like, oh, I'm on board for this. This is great.
Yeah, it was so good, so good.
Snarky in a good way.
Yes, I think yes, it was so good. That's one of my out of the ones that have come out. It's been one of my favorites. And I didn't know what to expect with it because sometimes you go to those movies and the preview looks really good, and you've probably experienced it, but then you sit there and you're like, oh man, this isn't as the preview was the best part of the
Oh
film.
yeah, yeah.
But that one was good.
I actually have I did this like 2 years ago. It's kind of a small series on Instagram that I was doing where like the trailers were better than the film, like perfect trailers, you know, just completely perfect trailers. Like the movie didn't have a chance at all after this trailer because it sold it so well. And it's a total art form to do a trailer that's like really just gets you going or just hits on every level that the movie. I mean, they don't care at that point. Like as long as they get their opening weekend, money. I mean, they also want longevity too, but it's almost a curse if they make it too good of a trailer. But again, if they can get that opening weekend, that's a lot of recoup. Um, but I want to share real quick one thing that I've been doing, and you may have seen it on Instagram. I have one wall back here that I dedicate to a director or an actor, actress, whomever, um, once a month, sometimes a couple weeks, out of the month. And what's been cool, and I can send you some screenshots if you want to like flash it, whatever. But what's been cool is when I go through it, like this month is Chevy Chase, and what's fun is like I'll pull all the tapes that I have because it's only VHS. Like I stop at like a certain VHS went to 2005, so there's plenty of DVD movies that I'm not showcasing. It's really just the VHS realm of the filmography of some of these actors and directors, artists, movies. But what's cool about it is when I go through the filmography, I feel like most people know the greatest hits of certain directors or actors, but like when you really take a fine tooth comb on the filmography, there's so many movies that these actors have been in that I'm like just plucking them off eBay within reason. If they're overpriced, I'm not going to. But so I don't want to spoil the next big one that I have going, depending on when this episode airs. But yeah, man, I got to tell you, there's so many movies that some of these actors have been in that are just completely like forgotten. And the cool thing about doing that little commemorative thing, and I keep pointing behind me, which is where that wall is, with the name of whatever artist celebrating their films. The cool part of what I'm trying to say is when I do scour their filmography, I'm like, I had no idea. Like I did a Michael Douglas one, and there was like 10 movies I had zero idea ever existed because they weren't in the greatest hits of his filmography, which is his greatest hits are like 20 films. He's got like 60, you know what I mean? So that's one of the cool things about doing this little experiment video store thing is because I'm beholden to celebrate some of my favorite actors and actresses and so on and so forth. It's making me discover their works infinitely more. You know what I mean?
Can I tell you, like, some of, like, I grew up loving Chevy Chase, still love his films today. But there's a film that he did that I don't think it got a lot of attention. It wasn't one of the hits. It wasn't like a Fletch or vacation film. Um, but Modern Problems,
Oh yeah, I got it.
absolutely love that movie. It was so weird and
Yeah,
different.
it is.
Oh my God. I watched that movie as a kid, and I have it on DVD now, but I loved Nell Carter, Dabney Coleman. Like, I absolutely love that film because it's so weird and different and kind of off. But it was that's one of the ones that I don't think people talk about as much. And my other favorite, one of my others that I think it was semi-popular in the late 70s, Foul Play with Goldie Hawn and Chevy Chase. And then they did like Seems
Best.
Like Old Times.
Yeah.
I love Chevy and Goldie together, and Seems Like Old Times and Foul Play. But Foul Play, honestly, is one of my favorite like movies. It's like in my top 10. I've
It's
always loved Foul Play.
fantastic. And dude, Dudley Moore, are you kidding me?
Oh my God, I know.
Yes.
I think that was the film that put him on the map, wasn't it? Because then he did 10, and then the Arthurs, of course. But Dudley Moore was such a comedic
Yeah,
genius.
put him on the American map. Like he was already in America because of his, popularity overseas. But like, yeah, he like he stole the fucking movie.
He did.
Okay, respectfully to the greats that are in that film, but that movie fires on all cylinders. Do you mind if I grab those and just show them?
Yeah,
Is
show
that
him.
okay?
Yeah,
Little
absolutely.
technical difficulties, folks. I'll be right back. So, little modern problems action.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it so much. That brings back such nostalgia for me because I remember renting the movie, when it looked like the DVD cover doesn't look like that, but I
Yeah,
loved it.
that's why I love the VHSs are generally the theatrical posters.
Yeah.
DVDs more or less too, but then they, even the VHSs actually when they do like a reissue,
Mhm.
they like spotlight more of an actor's face or
Yeah.
something. It's like, nah, good old foul play.
That still has the same cover on DVD. I
The
love
best.
it. I have the soundtrack on vinyl to that
Oh,
movie.
awesome, man.
Very
I gotta put that in
memorable.
my old eBay card. That's great. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Didn't think about that. And then
Oh, seems like
that's
old
awesome.
times. I love it's such a zany little
It
comedy.
is 100%.
Charles
Same.
Grodin. He
Yeah.
became like a talk show host later, but that was such a good little movie. I loved that film so much. And I really liked, like, I think those were the only two films, I could be wrong, but where Goldie and Chevy were like, the stars together
Yeah.
in the films, but they had such a good chemistry. Like even today, I see them together in just those two films, and they had such a good chemistry together. And I really wish they had done some more, together. But I grew up liking, like, she was one of my favorites growing up too, Goldie Hawn, Chevy Chase.
Best. Yeah.
Like, yeah. So the fact that you have those, and it's specifically modern problems, I think if you haven't seen that and you're a Chevy Chase fan, you have to watch that film. I think it's an underrated film that I don't think got as much of attention for him, but I just always picture the part where he snorts.
Yeah. I
Oh,
like it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. It's just one of those movies that it's just so, I don't know, it's weird. It's a weird film. It's a
It
weird little
is.
film. Even the music, the way they shot the feel of it, it's so different, I think, than some of the other things he did.
Yeah, you got to
You
be
know,
ready for it. You got to be like,
yeah,
get your drink if that's your thing, get your smoke if that's your thing, or just get like a good cup of tea and like,
yeah,
cut out 2 hours and
yeah.
just let it wash over you. Like
That's yeah, like I said, one of my favorite. And I love that you're doing that because you're right. There's so many films that these actors make, or even directors, that they don't get the love that the hits got, but some of them are better than the hits. They just weren't
yeah, yeah,
embraced by the public because they were either a little ahead of their time,
sure,
or
yeah,
it just didn't resonate, with the public at that time. But I think there's some really great gems, films that a lot of actors have made that are, to me, like that, that deserved that kind of recognition but didn't get it. And hopefully people rediscover them, later on.
agreed.